me, Kelly, and welcome back to another YouTube video. Today we are going to be doing an August wrap-up, so we're going to talk about all the books that I got to read in the month of August. So I hope you guys enjoyed. So let's first just talk about how fast the summer went. Like, it was like a blink of an eye. Like, I think the fastest summer I have ever had in my life. Like, I can't believe it's already September. It's September 1st as I'm recording this. And I just can't believe it. Like, school starts in 2 days. Crazy how fast summer has gone by and how fast August went by. I feel like it just flew. But in the month of August, I have read the most books, which is surprising because last month in July, I was on vacation. I thought I would read a lot more, but I guess August was my month for reading, which maybe because I recorded some videos that had to do with some reading, and maybe that helped boost my motivation. I'm not sure. But in the month of August, I read a total of 7 books out of the 9 books placed on my TBR, which is amazing for me. Like, never been done before. Never read 7 books in a month, which is, again, crazy for me to say that I read 7 books this month. A little more data for those who are interested. So my reading goal for the year is 50 books by the end of the year read. I am right now at 37 books, so I'm 13 books away from my goal, I believe. And we're in September. We got, what, 4 months left to complete that goal. I have a good feeling that I'm going to be able to obtain that goal or achieve that goal and maybe even surpass it with these next couple months. But yes, I'm at 37 books out of 50. On my list of books that I've read in August, I read 1 literary fiction, 2 fantasy, and 4 romance. Yeah, a lot of romance, of course. New fiction, that's new for me, or just like literary fiction, that's new. I don't really typically read that genre, so I got 1 book in that, and then my 2 fantasy books because we're starting to get into fall, which is like the perfect time to read a lot of fantasies. So let's go ahead and get started and talk about what books I did not get to in the month of August. So the 2 books that I did not get to in the month of August is The Last Chance Library by Freya Sampson and The Mysterious Benedict Society by Trenton Lee Stewart. So these 2 I did not get to. I do really want to read this book, but maybe in a later date, maybe later in the fall, just because it is like a magic type book where like these kids have magical powers. Last Chance Library, not really a priority, but you know, I'll read it when I get to it. So I'm not too upset about not reading these months, or this month. Alright, so we are gonna go through and talk about the books that I did read this month, and I'm gonna go through just like reading order. So like the first book is what the first book I finished in the month, all the way to the last book I've read in the month. So the first book I finished in August was Book Lovers by Emily Henry, and I am generally surprised that I enjoyed this book so much. Like, I loved it. I remember talking to some of my friends and just seeing online that a lot of people said this is not their favorite Emily Henry book, so I didn't have very high expectations. I kind of figured I'd be in the same boat as everyone, but surprisingly, I fell in love with it, and I'm pretty sure this book was in a vlog of mine, so I did kind of share my thoughts about it as I was reading it. And I absolutely fell in love with Nora and Charlie. They are adorable and I love them, and I didn't think I would love this story, which is, I think, the most shocking thing for me is I didn't have that expectation of liking it as much as I did. And I have no words. I kind of shared my thoughts in that video that I don't even remember. I read this in Funny Stories. So, but overall, I really enjoyed Book Lovers. I fell in love with Nora and Charlie. I love Nora and who she is, okay? There's no Nora slander, okay? She is type A, she is that way, and I love that for her, okay? And I love that Charlie completes her. That's all I can say. I did rate this a 4.5 stars, so absolutely loved. They're now one of my it's like my top. We'll talk about my rankings after I talk about the next book, but they're up there for sure, these two. The next book is Funny Story by Emily Henry. I do not have this book with me because I borrowed it from my friend Leah, so I returned it, of course, once I finished it, so I don't have it, but Funny Story by Emily Henry. So I kind of read both Emily Henry books back to back just to kind of compare, an older piece of work for her to her new release of 2024, Funny Story. And I was really conflicted because a lot of people have been rating Funny Story really, really high, and then there's a few that are rating it pretty low. And so I was a little kind of scared, but I had high hopes just because I know Daphne is a librarian. She works with children. I felt that connection with her. And Miles is like literally Nick from New Girl. So I knew there was nothing I wasn't going to dislike about this book. It had a good start to it, right? So we had Daphne and Miles, and I absolutely love them too. What can I say? This book I rated a 4.75 out of 5 stars. This is probably my highest rated book this month. I love them. I think I just loved it even more just with that children's librarian aspect because I could connect to that as an elementary school teacher. And I know that wasn't the whole story, but their relationship felt so real, like a real life relationships. Daphne and Miles are real out there. They're somewhere out there, okay? Their story of how they got together might be a little out there. If you don't know, they are roommates because their exes are now together. Long story. Not really a long story. It's a funny story. Get it? I love them as a couple. I love them. I want to read more about them. I want them to continue. I want to see them. That's all I want to do. I love them. And I think that connection of librarian and teacher just made me love the story more, if that makes any sense. So yes, Funny Story, 4.75. Now, I have now read all of Emily Henry's books. Crazy, I know. And so now my rating system kind of changes from day to day, but the top 3 kind of stay the same, but the other 2 kind of switch around sometimes. So here's my Emily Henry rating that nobody asked for. Number 1, beach read. Sorry, I love beach read. I feel like I could read that over and over and over again and fall in love with it every single time. Number 2, Funny Story. Crazy, right? Number 3, Book Lovers. Number 4, People We Meet on Vacation. And number 5 is going to be Happy Place. Now, Happy Place and People We Meet on Vacation, I feel like can switch around some days. But right now, I want to place Happy Place last. Not saying it's her worst piece of work. It's not. I think I rated it pretty highly. I don't remember what I rated, but I know I rated all of her books pretty highly because I love her writing. But it's not for me. If I'm thinking back to it, I can't remember a lot of what happened in that book. So I might need to reread it to kind of solidify my decision. And I'm starting to like People We Meet on Vacation a little bit more. I know the adaptation was announced, the who would play Poppy, the actors Poppy and Alex were announced earlier this month, I want to say. So I think that kind of helped me get more excited. Those 2, like I said, interchangeable for the last 2 slots, but again, they're not bad. That's just how I'm ranking them, okay? So, nobody asked for that, but that's my ranking on Emily Henry's books. Alright, the next book is A Man Called Ove, which is confusing because it says Ove, but it's Uva. I know that because I listened to this book in my listening to audiobooks for a week video. This is by Fredrik Backman. He has lots and lots of other books. This was my first book by him and also my first kind of general fiction, literary fiction. This is about a grumpy old man named Ove. He lives in Sweden. He does not have the greatest look of life right now. His wife passed away. He doesn't find joy in life. He just is done. Until a new family moves into the community he lives in, and he finds out the meaning of like friendship, and he finds new joys in life. And it's definitely a story that made me laugh, made me smile. It also made me cry. It made me upset. It's a very well written story about life and just what kindness can do to a person. So I rated this 4 stars. I do want to read more of Fredrik Backman because I've heard his books talk a lot about mental health and they portray it pretty well, and that's something kind of that I'm interested in, so I would love to read more books by him. I also want to watch, it's either a movie or a show that they created for a man called Uva. So I know they have a man called Otto, but I want to see this one because I loved it. Like, it surprised me how much I love this book. So I want to read more. So yeah, I did rate this a 4-star. The next book was Plot Twist by Erin LaRosa. That was also in my listening to audiobooks for a week video. A little backstory of this. I had no idea what this book was about. I didn't know it was a book number 2 in a series, but technically it's like an interconnected standalone. So just like I believe Abby Jimenez is like Part of Your World, or The Friend Zone, or the Happy Ever After playlist. Those types of books, they're all standalones where you could pick them up at any point and read them. The characters, though, I believe some of the characters from the first book are in this book. So that's a little FYI if you plan to read this. But I literally picked up this book because of the cover. I just loved it. It's very simple, but I fell in love with it. I like the color. I like the people. I loved it. That's all. This is about Sophie Lyon, who is a romance author who is trying to write a romance book. She has a deadline she needs to turn in. If she doesn't have a job anymore. What happens is a viral TikTok video of her gets exposed of her drunk at a karaoke bar, claiming that she's never been in love before. And so Dash, her landlord and also former teen heartthrob celebrity movie star, is trying to help her with her problem of never being in love and then also writing a romance book. And just like the social media aspect, this does deal with a little bit of like rehab. Dash is a recovering alcoholic. Sophie is, you go and travel through her past relationships, and she is pansexual. So, little FYI on the book. I can't wait to read more by Erin LaRosa. I think she does have a new book coming out either this month or soon, or it did come out, I'm not really sure. I really enjoyed this book. I did rate it at 3.75 just because it was a simple story, right? There's nothing too crazy about it, and it was a good story. So 3.75. Okay, now the next book was Twilight by Stephenie Meyer. I have never read Twilight, so this was my first time reading it. I was not one of those girls in middle school reading Twilight and obsessing over Team Jacob or Team Edward or anything like that. I was that kid who was like, I'm too cool to like popular things. So I never read Twilight at that time. Whatever that time was, like what, 2012? Something like that, when like the movie and all that came out. Twilight. I'm glad I read it. Was it a bit like cringy at points? Yeah, definitely was. Did it make me want to watch the movie? Yes. So I do plan on watching the movie hopefully sometime soon. I did rate this a 3-star. It's a good vampire book. I mean, there's better ones out there. A lot better ones. But it's just like a nostalgic, you know, like, who doesn't know what Twilight is? So definitely read it just so you can be like, yes, I read Twilight, but it's not the best. Okay. Am I going to continue the saga? Not really sure. I'm kind of iffy on that, okay? If I want, like, if I feel like it, I will. But I feel like this, just the first book, is good enough for me. Maybe I'll watch the movies. So that's where I stand on that. I did rate this a 3-star. I don't know if I said that already. And again, I kept just thinking of the movie. I've never seen the movie. I've only seen like clips here and there from TikTok and all that. So all I kept thinking about was that, like Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart. That's all I thought when I read this. So 3-star. All right, next one is Until You Found Me, a small town romantic suspense by Anna Calloway. And this book right here I actually received as an ARC, or an advanced reader copy. So thank you. That was my first ARC, which can't believe that I got to read an ARC. So this book is not out just yet. It is actually out September 3rd, which when this video is posted is tomorrow. So go ahead and check it out. So it's about Logan and Tessa. Logan is struggling with money. He has financial issues. He does also have diabetes. He doesn't have enough money to afford insulin. That's kind of how the story starts. He's driving on his way home from the pharmacy, and he finds a girl in the, like a woman in the road, covered in dirt and blood, and she's in like shock of like, am I dead? And so he brings her to the hospital, and she has amnesia. And we soon find out that this is Tessa, and she has amnesia. She doesn't know anything about her past. She doesn't really remember anything. So I've never read a book about amnesia, but I liked this one for sure. Through Logan kind of taking care of her and trying to help her, and Tessa learning more about Logan, they kind of build a relationship together. And so it's not only just a romance book, it also has suspense, because you really want to know where Tessa, like who did this to Tessa and all that. So I really enjoyed that aspect of this book, of the suspense. Kept pushing me to want to read more, because I'm like, okay, what are we gonna learn in this chapter? It also is not just romance, like I said. These two characters learn a lot about each other and just life and how crazy and dramatic it can be. So it's definitely like a dramatic romance with suspense. It's a really cool mix. I haven't really read a lot of those. If that's like your cup of tea, where you like a suspenseful, dramatic type romance, this is for you. I totally rated it a 4-star. Like I said, never have read a romantic like suspense before. I feel like I've said these words way too many times. But it just made the story so much more interesting, and again, motivate me to want to read more and learn more. So again, I rated this a 4-star. It's really good. Book comes out September 3rd. Go check it out. And then the last book. Now this one is a little confusing because there's 2 books in one, but if that makes sense, and that is The Vampire Diaries, The Awakening and The Struggle. So this book that I have has 2 books in it technically. The Awakening is book 1, The Struggle is book 2. I did finish The Awakening. I did not finish The Struggle. So that's why it's kind of finished but not finished type deal if we're thinking of this book as itself. But if we're thinking as 2 separate books, I finished one but not the other. So The Awakening, Vampire Diaries. If you have not watched Vampire Diaries, please go do so. I know this is the book, and the book is a lot different than the show from the first book, what I've noticed. But while I was reading this, all I wanted to do was watch the show. Okay, after reading Twilight, I was like, I need something better. And to be honest, Vampire Diaries is better, in my opinion, okay? Nobody come for me. The Awakening is, like the first season of Vampire Diaries. I don't want to keep talking about the show because I know, again, the book is different than the show, but that's all I could think about while reading was the show. Again, I really enjoyed it. Again, I kept connecting with the show, so that's why I already liked it and loved it, because I know the characters, and there were some points where I was like, that's not right, that's not what happened in the show, but I had to stop and say, nope, this is the book, it's going to be a little different. The show is different, different adaptations or different visions of like producers and directors. So overall, I think The Awakening, the first book in the series that I did finish, I'd rate like a 4-star. A lot of 4 stars this month, but I would say like a 4-star. I liked it. It introduced characters well, it builds up on the story, and it makes me want to read more, which of course I will. And this is definitely a series I will continue. Unlike Twilight. Sorry, Twilight. But I'm sorry, there's just a special place in my heart for Stefan Salvatore and Damon Salvatore and like Elena the whole crew. It's just a special place in my heart. 4.25, 4 stars, somewhere around there. Not really sure. It's kind of hard for me to rate it because I was like, oh, I'll rate it as a book as a whole, but I'm not finished with the whole book. I'm on book 2 now, so we'll do like a 4.25, somewhere around there. Alright guys, that was my August wrap up. We went through all 7 books that I read in the month. Crazy, I feel like I've been talking for hours and yapping. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and also make sure you comment below any recommendations you might have. If you've read any of these books, how did you feel about them? Did you like them? Did you hate them? Did you want to throw it across the room? Let me know down below. Also, make sure you subscribe. I'm going to be trying to post more videos as the school year gets started. I'm going to try to post more book content as well as maybe lifestyle, music, kind of whatever I kind of feel like, or if anything you want to see, just let me know down below. But yeah, I hope you subscribe. That's about it. Thanks for watching. Bye!